About a year and a half ago, the Cardinal asked us to form a steering committee to, I don't know that it's really a strategic plan, but to create a reflection on some priorities for the diocese as we look ahead for the next 3 to 5 years. His reflection was, as he came to the diocese, he found it very helpful to go through the decisions document, which was a previous consultation service, resulting in a series of decisions. And he thought, as he looked ahead, both for himself and then for the next archbishop, it would be good if we reviewed, again, our own needs and what we saw as priorities. There are about 24 people on this steering committee, representatives from the Archdiocesan Pastoral Council, from the Presbyteral Council, from the Episcopal Council, from the Administrative Council. There are permanent deacons. There were 3 Hispanics, 1 African American, 3 lay people. 1 priest from each vicariate was selected. And this steering committee, as they came together, they just talked about the life of the church today. They listed all kinds of needs that they saw. Then we sent that information out to all of the priests of the Archdiocese, all of the permanent deacons, all of our school principals, all of our directors of religious education, all of our pastoral associates, all of our youth ministers, all of our business managers, just for their feedback. We got several hundred responses to that mailing. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. This was about a year ago. But from that information that we received back, there were 5 basic categories. These are not necessarily the priorities, but the categories of people's comments. The first category was various kinds of concerns around evangelization. A second category was various concerns around formation, the formation of our own people. A third category was the area of finances and our own future stability financially. A fourth category was vocations, particularly vocation to the diocesan priesthood. And then lastly, there were a number of social issues that were very important to people. The life issues, the immigration issues, and particularly the racial justice issues. The steering committee took all that information. They worked with the McKinsey people to do further research under those categories. They had some consultation with people at the University of Notre Dame and also with the CARAS people from previous studies. And there were certain phenomena that people talked about under each of those categories. Under evangelization, a concern was so many of our Catholic people are not practicing their faith in a regular way. Only about 25% of our Catholics are at least participating in regular Sunday worship. And also, in terms of the life of the church, there was a concern about the aging population. Many of the people who are there in a regular way, both on Sunday and also participating in our parish life, are an aging group. Under the whole area of formation, some of the phenomenon that people were concerned about, they saw an unevenness in the Catholic foundations and the Catholic understandings of our own faith in the very people that are participating and also particularly among the younger people. In terms of the financial stability of the future of our diocese, even though right now we financially are in a pretty stable and a blessed condition, I think, especially given the economy, what people saw was, in an overall way, one of the ways that many of our parishes are meeting their budgets, they are spending down their savings. And that can only go on so long, and then we will have a rather serious challenge economically for all of us. So how to stabilize ourselves financially. We are blessed in this archdiocese. Look at the number of priests here. We're blessed with all of the externs we have, all of the religious communities that are working with the diocesan priests. Also within the diocesan priesthood, primarily because of the initiatives around Casa Jesus and the Bishop Abramovich Seminary, our own seminarians are still good in number, but part of the challenge for us is encouraging young men who are called to the priesthood who have been born in Chicago. And that number has remained stable but small, relatively small. And how do we continue to encourage young men born here in the Archdiocese of Chicago to pursue a call to priesthood? And then lastly, around the social issues, there were different kinds of concerns, but all of those issues were important. What the steering committee did then, you may remember this, we did a further sounding beginning on Easter Sunday this past year. By electronic mail, we asked for people's feedback. And that was on the Archdiocesan website. We encouraged people to give us feedback about their concerns. These were people from the parishes. There was a survey present, not only in English, but it also was there in Spanish and in Polish. It was only up for 10 days. The McKinsey people, the consultants we were using, hoped that we would get anywhere from 300 to 500 responses. They felt that would be a valid sampling. In those 10 days, we had 8,500 people respond, and they could tell by the zip codes that geographically the entire archdiocese was represented, also the age groups were represented, and also the various ethnic distributions were represented. So they felt they truly had a valid sampling of our archdiocese, giving us feedback about our own priorities.